What are the variation of conditionals? Anyone? What are the variations of conditionals? Just the if block, just one hand, if else, multiple hand, multiple branches, and multiple if. You can use elif to make it faster. Again, what's the difference between multiple if versus elif?
Check it, and then we'll just go past everything else.
Yeah.
The other apps, ifs, we'll check each individual.
Each individual ifs. That's the difference between those two. So for the multiple if you're writing if multiple times, it will check all of the if cases. Instead, if you're writing if elif, whenever it's satisfied, it will not check the rest of the conditions. It will go to the following through if there is any statement or expression. Okay. So those are the previous week things. One thing I didn't cover is the nested condition. Have you used Python tutor at home? Is it helpful? It is really helpful if you are not understanding any code. Maybe it's like simple line of code. So whenever we are writing loops, it can be like 2 or 3 lines of code, but it will execute maybe forever if you're writing infinite loop. To avoid those type of situation, you need to visualize your code. What's the problem? Okay. Okay. So this is the nested conditions. Nested condition is like if within an if. It could be multiple nested things, but I am showing here only one nested condition. So here you can see I'm checking whether x could be any value, maybe 10. Y is less than, like y is maybe what, less than x, maybe 5. So 10 and 5, x is 10, y is 5. That means the first condition is not going to be satisfied, right? It will go to the else. Then it will check, well, whether x is greater than y. It is, x is 10, y is 5. We can print x is greater than y. How about x and y are same, like 5 and 5? So for the first case, it will not going to be satisfied, right? It goes to the else case. In the else case, there is another if else case. That means this if else is a part of else. That's why it's called nested. We're writing if within an if. We could also write these things in an if block, but in a different conditional things, in a different condition. But here we're going to check whether x and y are greater than or equal or less than. Those are the 3 conditions we're checking here. So the first condition is like whether x is less than y. If it is, it goes there. If it is not, it could be either 2 ways, either equal or greater than, right? That's why I'm writing another if cases. Like if it is greater than y, it will print that x is greater than y. If they're equal, then probably the else case. That means it will check this one first. No, it's not going to be satisfied. Then else. Under the else block, you can see here, this if is not here. It is like under the if and under the else. That means there it is not separated. It is like nested. If you just missed, let me write this code. So I'm writing x is 10. Let me sit down. X is 10 and y is 5. And I'm writing if x is greater than y. X is greater than y. I'm going to print x is greater, right? Else, it is either less than or equal, right? So in the else case, I could print like x is not greater than y, right? This is true. First thing is like x is greater than y. Second one is x is not greater than y. But there are like 2 things. It could be either equal or less than. So what I'm going to do here, I'm writing if. You can see here if I'm not writing on the left side. You can see the margin. So this if is like a marginal on the left, else is the same, and this block is under the if, and this print line under the else. Again, I'm writing an if case under the else. If I'm writing here, that means it is not under the else. There's a separate if block, right? When I'm using a tab or a 4-space here, that means it is under the else block. And what are the conditions? If x is, well, there's some suggestion. I can use that suggestion. If x is equal y, I can say x is equal to y. Otherwise, x is always less than y. So let me run this code in the Python tutor. Can't. Okay. So x is 10. I'm just assigning that 10 to x variable. Then y is 5. Then I'll check whether x is greater than y. It is. So that's why it goes here and print x is greater. And that's it. Now, how about if I'm changing this value to like 5 and 10? Now it will go here, first assigning those two values, then check this condition. If x is greater than y, no, it is not. It goes directly to the else block. It prints this line as because this is not under any if block. Whether it's an else, it will print. That means x is not greater than y. Then what it is? Is it equal or is less than? It checks the first one. Is it equal? It is not. It goes to the else block and print x is less than y. Okay. Now the third case is they are equal. So first assigning those values, then check if x is greater than y. No, it is not. Else, x is not greater than y, right? Is it equal? It is. Then prints the x is equal to y. That's it. So this is how it works. So whenever you are not sure that how your code is working, make sure you copy your code to the Python tutor so that it has more visualization things. Okay. Does that make sense? Any question? So you need to, like, you may need to write multiple if cases in a nested way. I have seen here, like I have shown here only 2 cases, like one nested if block under else, but it could be like 3, 4, 5, depending on the situation. Like I gave you the example last day, like your grade is more than 80 is a B, right? So we'll check again and again. If your grade is greater than 80, that means you're not less than 80. That means you can go beyond B. It could be B, it could be A, right? Or A minus or B plus. I can check again if your grade is greater than 85. Maybe if your grade is like 94, it is 85. Then again, I'll check another if block. Is your grade greater than 90? Yes, it is. That means I'm writing 3 if in a nested way. Does that make sense, or do I need to write code? Make sense? Okay. So that's all for the conditionals. I will rewrite some input validation using the if block, that what we have written for the project. For the project, someone told me like, well, the crew number should be more than 2, right? That's because there are like Mira and Ta, and there should be another one, so that I can say it is more than 2 people, all crew. And again, if you are assigning 3 units to rest of the crew member, you should have to be that amount, like that many amount. That let me write some code. So for an example, I'm not sure what are the numbers, so I'm just gazing. So for example, the crew number is like 3. What is the minimum number of unit number? 0. Why? Anyone? Yeah, definitely it is not negative. So it's given that it's a positive number, but what is the minimum positive number? What?
3.
3, at least 3 is because I told you that except Mira and Tov, all crew should get 3 units. So right now I have like 3 crew. That means I need to allocate 3 units to that person. Right? So it should be like crew minus 2 multiplied 3, right? This is the minimum number of unit. Now, when you're getting the unit from the user, given that you already have validated those things, how you can check whether the unit is valid or not valid?
Statement.
If statement, right? So what I can say, first thing is like it is a positive number, right? So how I can check it's a positive number?
Greater than 0.
Greater than 0. How about equal 0? Is a positive number? It is, but since we have to have some numbers, so we can eliminate that part. Like it is at least greater than 0. So if the units is greater than 0, that means a positive number. And then what are the other condition? It should be this number, right? The units should be greater than this number. Does that make sense? Now there are like 2 conditions here. This is the first condition, and this is the second condition. How I can join those 2 conditions? And yeah, I can use an and here, or I can write a nested if. First, I'll check whether it is greater than 0, like positive number. Then I will check, is it the actual amount? Like a nested if. So if you have like this type of nested if, it's better to use connective expression, like connective operator, like an and. You can always write multiple if in a nested if. Both are okay. Okay? Yes.
This might be a little bit nitpicky, but I think it might be better to like check if our like crew is above 0. And then
Above 0 or above 3.
yeah. Brain isn't working.
Well, I haven't checked for the crew yet. So first I have to check the crew. If the crew is greater than 0, right, should be a positive number. But as I told you, at least we have 2 crew members, Mira and Tov, and the other, right? So what I can say here, instead of 0, I can say it should be greater than 2. That means at least 3, right? So this is the first check. When it is true, then I can go to the next step. Then I can take the user's input, like units input. Otherwise, I don't need to, right? I can keep iterating this value. Your crew number is less than 2. So here I'm just writing the crew input. If it is like less than 2, I'm just iterating here, like print some error message. You need to enter at least, no, you need to enter, yeah, at least 3 units. Sorry, crew. Right? If it is not 3, then we don't need to get the input from the user for the units, right? It is unnecessary. That's why I'm writing those things inside that if block. Does that make sense? Any question? But for your first project, I haven't enforced this one. But for next onward, you need to check those things. And always try and accept. The first try, then everything inside the try block. Then the accept. Right? What's the exception? Well, a user can enter some value that is not integer. Then it could be a what type of error?
Input error,
Input
syntax
error?
error.
Syntax error? What else?
Value.
Yeah, the right answer is like value error. It is a syntax error, but it's a value error. Basically, it is not a syntax error. It is like runtime error. Syntax is like when you are running your code, is there any error? It is not. Whenever you're trying to convert, then there is an error. It's like a runtime error.
Mhm.
Okay. Make sense?
Yep.
So I can write here like except if it is the value error, I can print here like some error message. Enter numeric number. Okay. Yes.
Isn't there a way to get the accept to like print the type of error? Because usually when you try and accept it, it doesn't display. it.
Yeah, you can. There is like a variable called like E and print E.
So that's for debugging purposes.
Yeah, that's for the debugging purposes, but I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, there's syntax. Okay. Is greater than crew -2. What's the problem?
You're missing the colon.
Okay, so this is an if case, and there is no like block here. If there is an if case, only then I can proceed, right? So I can say here like start calculation. Otherwise, enter valid amount of units. Okay. Let me see how I can check. I don't remember the exact syntax. No. Yeah, as E, not under the parentheses. So if I'm writing as E, and if you print E, you can see the error. So for the unit, if I'm just adding unit, should be crew for, oh, okay. It should be crew. Crew, maybe valid number 3. For the unit, could be some string numbers. Then I can see the print, like the value error. It's invalid later for integer based thing.
It's printed because it's not.
Yeah, at least you're not showing to the customer those type of error thing, like some stopping criteria. It's like showing the error. This is for the debugging purposes. Whenever you're writing your code, you're not sure where you're getting stuck or where you're getting the errors. Probably you can just print those errors. But always you can print some other things other than the error. Like, well, if you're printing here, you need to enter some numeric number, and you can see that result here. Okay. Any question? For the first project, as I told you, I didn't enforce you to write those things, but for the next onward project, you need to write those things. You need to validate those inputs first. Okay. And make sure you write the try and except. That means whenever there are some errors in the runtime, that can be handled through the exception. If you know the exact error type, then probably you can write the exact error type here, like value error. If you don't know, then just a general exception. Question?
I tried it with the if and not the nested loop,
Mhm.
and it wouldn't run an error for if the crew was less than 3.
Yes. So the reason is the first part is true, right?
Yes.
It is greater than 0, but it is less than our next number. That means if both are correct, then it goes to here, right?
Yeah.
If you're writing or, that means you can bypass that one.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
In the code, it looks like with the indentations, the printing for you need to enter at least 3 crew in here. It looks like that will just run if the crew is greater than 2. Do you see that?
Yeah.
In this block of code where it says print, you need to enter at least 3 crew.
Yeah. So it is under which block?
It is under the. if
It
crew
is,
greater
it
than
is
2.
under this if block, right?
Mhm.
That means if crew is greater than 2, well, it should be an else.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to point out.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That's great. There was an else, I just removed it. So that's why you're seeing this one.
Happens.
It is tough to maintain those things. That's why if you have the VS Code or some other IDE, you can see the indentation line by line. Now I cannot see the line here. In the VS Code, there are like some straight lines on different colors. It's better to use VS Code or Thorny. I hope you're using VS Code, right? Most of you have installed the VS Code. I told you this is not recommended. Whenever you don't have your own computer, but the internet and a public computer, then you can use those things. Or maybe, yes, Rich.
This is a little off subject, but when it comes to try and accept, are we always supposed to, tell them the type of information and then make them start over the program, or do we use loop
Yeah.
to ask for that information?
Yes. Then so that's a very good question. Like, do we need to run one time or multiple times? Most of you, like for your first week assignment, you have used some loop to reiterate those things. But as I told you, since we haven't covered loop, so you are not supposed to use loop there, just one single run. If it is an error, just exit the program. But now, today's class, we will learn what is the loop, why do we need to use this loop. Sometimes we need to validate those things again and again, and we don't need to exit from the program. Once they are validated, then we can proceed. Then we can use those loops. So we can write the loop. Inside the loop, we can write those things again and again. That's what, like that was your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other question here? So keep in mind, from next onward project, validate the input, use the try except to check the errors so that I cannot see any error. I can see some error messages, right? And then when you go to the loop, probably you need to use those things again and again things. Okay? Any question regarding conditionals? No? Okay. Then you can jump to day 2. So still we are day 1. So for the day 2, we will explain loops, different types of loop differently. For loop and while loop is very common in Python. But if you have already wrote some code, like written some code in C or C++, there are some other types of loop, but we're not worrying about those type of loops. We'll be worrying about for loop and while loop in Python. We'll identify the relationship between the patterns loop and the output. We'll describe the infinite loop, break and continue statement related to the while loop. And if we have some time, we will discuss the project to a specification. When is the project to due? Next week?
Next Friday.
Next Friday? No, it is not. Week after the next. It's like week module 5, week 5 actually. So that's why I told you, whenever you're not sure, you just go to the calendar. And check your course. Probably you're taking multiple courses. When you check the calendar, you can see the project 2 is due on not this month, next month. The February 6th, okay, in module 5. But as I told you, on each module, I'll be posting the same assignment, but they are due on February 6th on module 5. The reason is you need to know the specification, you need to work beforehand for those projects. Okay. Loops. What does that mean by a loop? Keep doing again and again, right? Why do we need to use a loop? Just like Reed said, whenever we need to use some sort of concept, like I'm not exiting the program, but I will validate the input from the user first, then I will proceed. Then you can use this loop to keep iterating the same thing again and again. This is one good example. What can be another example? Counting numbers, like adding numbers. What is the summation of number 1 to 100? One to 10. 55. Oh, it's like a very simple trick. There is like an equation like n plus 1 divided by 2. So if n is like 10, so 10 multiply 11 by 2 is like 55. This is the easiest way, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So from 1 to 5, what is the summation of those numbers? Well, total number is 5. So 5 multiplies 6 divided by 2 is like 15. But before this, so if you don't know the equation, how you can add those numbers? When I ask you, what is the summation of 1 to 100? I think you will start calculating from 1, 2, 3, like this. When I'm saying, what is the summation of 1 to 5? Definitely you will count 1, 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 3 is 6, like that, right? Like what you're doing, you're adding numbers. So first one, adding with 2, 3, then adding with 3, 6, right? Then adding with 4, 10, then adding with 5, 15, right? This is how our brain works. And what we're doing again and again? Summation. What summation? Whatever we have, we're adding with the next number. What is the summation? We're adding with the next number. Whatever the summation, we're adding with the next number, so on and so forth. That means we're doing the same operation again and again, right? So for this type of operation, whenever we have this type of operation, like doing the same thing again and again, it's better to not write those things, or if we don't know the equation, we need to use the loop. Okay. Loops are also called like iteration. Whenever there is a term called like iteration, you need to iterate 5 times. That means you need to write a loop that can run 5 times. So Python has 2 types of loops, for loop and while loop. And as I already have told you why the loop is needed. Whenever you need to do the same thing again and again, instead of writing multiple lines of code, you can write one single line with a loop. Okay. Now, the loop is the very new thing to you, right? What is the first thing that you need to know?
Which one to use?
What?
Which one to use?
Which one to use? Well, this is the first. This is not exactly the first thing, maybe the second thing. First thing you need to know how you can use it, right? The grammar, the syntax, right? So we need to know the syntax first. Well, before going to the syntax, I would like to tell you one thing is like what we can iterate. Whenever we're trying to iterate, iterating over what? A sequence, right? So far we have learned string. String is a sequence of character, right? But we haven't covered list, tuples, dictionary, set. Whenever we will be covering those things, we'll be using loop again. But right now we'll be using string only. Here's the syntax. Lot of things, right? First, sequence. Second, like we need to iterate over a sequence. So I need to declare a sequence. I have to have a sequence, right? Then how I can write a loop over the sequence? Well, the keyword is for, and then a variable called like loop variable that can be used inside a loop. Do you remember in operator? What it is? Do you remember whenever we discuss about the operators, there is a called like in operator. In operator checks whether it is sort of a Boolean operator, like checks whether it is there or not. Whenever you use the in operator, it will check whether that particular thing is in that particular sequence. If it is, return true. If it is not, returns false. Right? Then our sequence, our string, what we already have declared. And then the colon, the same thing that we have used in the if case. Colon means like we are writing the block of that for loop. Then our statement, it could be one line, it could be multiple lines, right? So keyword for the loop variable, it could be anything. People are trying to use I, but I don't recommend to use I as because I doesn't make any sense. If it is like sensible, like a meaningful variable name, that make more sense to me. Like ch means like character. But if you're writing like single character, like with underscore, this is too big, right? Some shorter version of variable. Character is fine. Then the operator in, and then the sequence and the colon. And then after the colon, you need to write the statements. So right now we have like one statement. Now, if we would like to iterate a string, what does that mean by iterate a string? Hard to hide. So here's my string. Hello. This is my string, right? I'm writing a for loop, and here's my loop variable. I am iterating over that string, that sequence. Maybe I'm just writing str1 as a variable name, str1. So what it does, this ch loop variable, it goes to the very first character. Then if I'm writing print, it will print that character h. Then automatically for the for loop, the loop variable forward to the next one, the next item of the sequence. What is the next item? E. It prints E, then L, then L, then O. So the important thing is the loop variable, it is like updating the variable. So we are using the ch variable to print, but it prints different characters. That means every time that ch character update by itself, well, it forwards to the next item in the sequence. Does that make sense? Have you used the range function?
Try to.
So range function is a function, like a built-in function, which will give you a range of numbers. So if you're writing here, like there are various parameters. So if you're not writing anything just like a 10 or any number, it will start from 0, ends with 9. Okay. Excuse me. So range function returns a sequence of number starting from 0, ending before that number, incrementing by 1. So those are the default values. If you'd like to modify it, for example, you would like to print from 100 to 200, then your starting point is not 0. So by default, it is 0. That means you would like to overwrite it. To overwrite it, you need to write the very first parameter is the starting point. Starting point is 100. Starting point is inclusive, but the ending point is not. If you'd like to print from 100 to 200, you need to write here 200, right? Am I right? What's the right one? 201. It's because 200 is not inclusive. It will print 100 to 199. And then probably you would like to print the odd numbers or even numbers. Maybe the even numbers. So right now, by default, it increments by 1. If you use like by 2, it will start from 100, then 102, 104, all the way to 200. This is how it works, the range function. That means range function creates a sequence of numbers. You can use the for loop to iterate that sequence. Okay. Let me write some code here. I'm just writing a sequence. So let me print the range function first. What it prints. So range, I'm just writing a is equal to the range function 10. And try to print what is the a. What do you think? What do you will print? A list?
0 to 10.
0 to 10.
Oh,
It's like a range of numbers, but they are compacted
just prints the function.
in a tuple, basically. That's because we're not covering tuple, we're not discussing tuple here. So just keep in mind, it's like a tuple, like a condensed version of 10 numbers. Now I would like to iterate to our for loop. So what I can do, I can write a for loop. I have the range here, right? The sequence. I can write a variable called like val is variable in that range A, and then print the val. It prints from 0 to 9. This is the one way. The other way is instead of assigning those range thing to A, you can just print here. Like paste here, not print. It will print the same thing. So instead of assigning variable, you can just run those things in a fly. So typically it doesn't take too much space in your memory, but if it is too long, then it will take double memory. Okay, but that is a part of like coding performance. So we're not worrying about the coding performance right now. So both are right. Now, if I'm going to print here like from 10 to 20, and it will print only the odd number, the even number. It will print only the even number from 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, but not the 20. 20 is not inclusive. If I'm writing 21, then it will print 20. So keep in mind. So what are the 3 parameters in the range function? The first one is the starting point. Second one is the ending point. It is required, the second one. And third one is the stepping, how much you will step. If you will just write only 20, that means by default, the first value is 0 and last value is 0, but the middle value is 21. Sorry, the third value is 1, stepping by 1. You could also do the same thing in a reverse way, like from 20 to 10, stepping by -2. Not sure if it will work. It works. But how about starting with 10, ending with 20, and stepping by -2. What do you think? What it will work? Like what it will print?
An error maybe?
Huh?
An error maybe?
Yeah, error,
A runtime error?
runtime error. It will go to the integer limit.
It might be an infinite loop.
It's an infinite loop. It's because we don't have any stopping criteria here. But I'll be discussing infinite loop in a minute. It's not printing anything, but somehow they can handle the infinite loop, so they're not printing anything. But it's an infinite loop. Like I have a starting condition, I can deduct by 2, but what's the ending condition? I don't know the ending condition. That's why it goes over and over until the end of the world. Okay?
Or the end of the PC.
End of the PC. If your PC is more powerful, then it could be the end of the world.
Could be.
Okay. So this is the for loop. Same thing for the while loop. So what is the key things in a loop? The keyword, it could be for loop, for or while. Then there should be a loop variable, an in operator for the for loop, but for the while loop, we're not using in operator. There should be a sequence and the statement. And what is the semantics? Whenever you're starting, make sure you have an ending condition. For loop somehow manages those things. But the while loop, by default, it's like an infinite loop. That means you have to control the while loop. I have to start here, then ends there. In between, I need to step this way. That's the challenging part for the while loop. For the for loop, it is like more definitive. I know it will run that many times. For the while loop, I don't know. I'm not sure how many times it will run. So that's why you need to be very careful whenever you are writing a while loop. Well, here's the base condition. Like I need to start from here, the starting condition, then the keyword and a Boolean expression. That means whenever this Boolean expression is true, it will keep going on. And this is the very important things, loop controller. You have to control your loop. You can see here, we're starting the I value from 0, and we'll check until the I value or 0, whatever the I value, first is 0, is less than 10, we'll keep going. Now, what if I don't have this statement?
Infinite loop.
It's an infinite loop. Like I'm not controlling. Every time it is 0 and less than 10, true, print 0, print 0, print 0, all the time. The loop controller, what it does, it controls, like I'm going to increment I by 1. For the next run, the I value is 1. 1 is less than 10. Yes, print 1. So on and so forth. 9 until 9, 9 is less than 10. Yes, print 9. Then I plus 1, 10. 10 is not less than 10. That means it doesn't satisfy. So while false. That means we have an exit condition here. So this is very important. Whenever you're writing a while loop, make sure you control the loop. And what you're controlling, you're actually controlling this Boolean expression. And definitely you have to have the starting condition. This is our starting condition, our base condition. For the for loop, if we're just comparing with the for loop, our base condition is like, here is nothing, right? I know this in operator starts from the first character, ends with the last character. That means the for loop has more control. We don't need to write some extra code here. And by default, it forwards to the next sequence. But for the while loop, it doesn't. We need to forward it. We need to push it to go to the next item. Does that make sense? Any question about the for loop and while loop? Here's the difference between the for loop and while loop. As I told you, while loop runs as long as the condition is true, but the for loop is like predetermined. Whenever you're writing a for loop, it knows that it will go from first character to the last character. That's it. And for the while loop, you must declare a counting variable to count how many times it runs. But for the for loop, it automatically like declare that I told you, like it just, so for the while loop, we need to push it to the next iteration. But for the for loop, it automatically goes to the next item. You must increment the counting variable or decrement. Like depends on your situation. So increment means like increment or decrement. But for the for loop, the counting variable is already incremented. It will already increment by 1. Like I wrote the code here. For I val in range. That means val value, it starts from the first one, it goes to the next one, and the next one until the last one. Last item of the sequence. Now, how I can convert this for loop to a while loop? This is a for loop, right? It is easy to write. How I can convert this for loop to a while loop? Anyone? Yes.
Variable that starts at the first number of the range,
The base condition, right?
base condition.
What is our base condition here? Starting from 10, right?
Starting number, yeah.
So
10.
let me rewrite this code in a simpler way. It's like 1. So from 10 to 20, increment by 1. So our base condition is 10. So what I can write here, like our starting point, I'm just writing the start is 10. Then what's the stopping condition? Stop is 20. And then our while loop until our start value shows me the same. I don't write the code. So it just check this one. The start is less than the stop, print the start, and I'm incrementing the start by 1. So what I can write here, I can write the step is 1. Instead of 1, I can write here the step. Both are printing the same. Now, for the range function, if you'd like to print line, so if you like to print number 20, you need to increment it by 1, right? Then how I can rewrite the while loop so that it can print 20? Same thing?
Just change stop to 20.
Any other option? Keeping 20 here?
You can change the less than to less than or equal to, but making
Right.
it less than
We
sign.
need to change the Boolean operator, Boolean expression, less than to less than equal. That means whenever it is less than, it is fine. Whenever it is equal, this is also fine. Whenever it is more than equal, like it's greater than, it is not fine. Does that make sense? Let me write this code or run this code in the Python tutor. It is like a 3 lines of code, and you'll see how many times it will run. Instead of step, I'm just writing 1. Instead of stop, I'm writing 20 so that I have less variables, less lines of code. So there are like 4 lines of code, right? So it is assigning the variable 10. Then you'll see it will update that variable. It prints 10. It increments by 1. Now it is 11, not 10. Our start variable was 10. Now it is 11. It checks whether 11 is less than 20. True. Print 11. Then increment by 1. 12. 13. 14. You see how many times it runs? 35 times. Like 35 operations. But we have only written 4 lines of code. Sometimes you're writing 1 or 2 lines of code. It may run like 1,000 times. Then maybe you're not sure when it stops. What's the exiting condition? What's the exiting criteria of your code? Then you need to iterate it here with smaller number. Okay, 14, 15, 16, so on and so forth. 19, increment by 1, 20. 20 is less than 20, prints 20. Then 21. 21 is not less than 20. Done. Okay. Now, there's one other variation. If I'm going to change the order of this one, like before printing that number, I'm incrementing it first and then printing. What is the difference between those two code? I'm just swapping those two lines.
It's gonna start at 11 and end at 21.
11, 21. Okay, let me try. Start value is 10. 10 is less than 20. Increment by 1. Before printing, I'm incrementing. Then it prints that start value. Let me go to the end. 19. 19 is less than 20. True. Print. 20. 20 is less than 20. Then increment 21. That means it prints from 11 to 21. This is called like off by 1 error. Sometimes whenever you're writing your code, maybe you're swapping the steps, then you'll have off by 1 error. You are supposed to print 10 to 20, but here you're just printing 11 to 20. 11 to 21. Okay, so this is called like a semantic error. It runs fine, and you will getting the exact answer. There is no error, but this is not expected. Expectation is like 10 to 20, but your code is providing 11 to 21. So keep in mind, whenever you're solving this type of issue, like problem, make sure you run this code in a very simple, like shorter number in the Python tutor and see what it is printing. Okay, make sense? Okay, that means you were able to convert a for loop to while loop, right? A while loop to for loop, vice versa. If I'm giving you this one, you can write it to this one, right? For example, our for loop here is printing from 0 to 9, right? How you can write a for loop here? For I in range 0 to just 10, print I. Okay, so we know how to convert each other from for to while to for. This is really important. Sometimes I may ask you to, like for your next project, probably you write at least 2 loops, 1 for loop, 1 while loop. Even if you can write it in 2 for loops or 2 while loops, you need to write 2 different ways, like 1 for loop, 1 while loop. For example, you're writing a code with 2 for loop, you need to convert 1 for loop to while loop. Or if you're comfortable with while loop, you're writing 2 while loops, you need to convert while loop to for loop. These are the required things for the next project, but I'll be discussing in a minute. Now, there are some other loop items that are really important whenever you're writing a loop. One is like infinite loop. That means it will go forever. Whenever you are not controlling the loop, this is the loop controller, then it will run forever. Probably it will raise an error. Now, it is running. You see, it is running 10 again and again and again.
I wonder what the code's favorite number is.
The 10. But I ask you to write from 10 to 20, but your code is running 10 all the time. This is called like infinite loop. Okay. The other way is like, well, you have the controller. You have the controller, but your stopping criteria is not the right way. Like maybe you would like to print from 10 to 20, but instead of 10, you're writing 5. You're starting from 10 and ending is 5, but you're incrementing. That means you're controlling loop the other way. is also an infinite loop. It doesn't run as it knows like it never ends. But yeah, this is also an infinite loop. You're incrementing by 1 from 10 to 11, 12, 13, 14, but it never goes to 5. That is never going to be a true statement. Okay, so this is like an infinite loop. The other two major thing is like break statement and continue statement. What is a break statement? Break statement means like whenever you need to exit a loop, like you're writing a while loop through, for example, the user's input. You'll keep running again and again until the input is valid, right? Whenever you have the valid input, you can exit from the loop. Then you can use the break statement. That I'm going to exit the loop. Before that, you can write while true. That means it is an infinite loop. By default, it's like infinite loop. Until you enter a valid number, you will keep running an infinite loop. And whenever it ends when you are entering a valid number. Whenever you have a valid number, just write the break statement. Okay. There is another way. It's called like continue. Continue is like you're skipping that iteration, going to the next iteration. For example, I would like to print from 10 to 11, but I'm not printing all numbers, but the odd numbers. That means whenever there's an odd number, you'll skip it. Whenever there's an even number, you'll skip it, like continue to the next iteration so that you have an odd number. So those two are very important. To avoid infinite loop, definitely you need to use the break statement. And sometimes you need to skip current iteration to the next iteration, then continue is the very powerful tool here. I also have given some examples. You can see the examples here. I don't recall what are the examples I have written. Not here. The break statement. So what I'm going to check here, whenever I get the G, I'll break. That means, let me print it. So PRO, whenever I get the G, it breaks. It never prints the rest of the characters. For the continue, it is like whenever I have a space, I would not like to print that space. That means, so you can see here, C to E, there is a space. If I'm not using this statement, then it will print all the numbers, including the space. But I would like to skip the space. So that's why I can rewrite this code. There's an error with the indentation. So whenever like you have an issue with the indentation, just keep everything to the left, all left. Then starting with the first one, select all, use tab. That means they are under the for loop. Now, the if this continue is under the if, just check this continue, hit enter. This is how you can solve the indentation issues. Maybe you have multiple if or multiple fors or nested if, nested for. You need to use this way. Okay. So this will print computer science without the space. You cannot see a space. So whenever there's a space, you are jumping to the next. That means whenever there's a space, it continues. It goes to the next one. It doesn't print. It doesn't execute this statement. And what does it like? How it works is just the printing that character. So when you're printing that character, we have only one statement. It could be multiple statements. We're skipping those statements. Okay. Any question about the continue and break? Those two are really important, and somehow you can miss those two things, like swap those two things. Instead of continue, you can write break. Instead of break, you can write continue. This is a very common mistake. So break means like you're breaking, you're exiting the loop, totally exiting the loop. Continue means like you're not exiting the loop, but exiting the current iteration. That means you're skipping this current iteration to the next iteration. And again, before the continue, everything will be work. But after the continue, it doesn't work. That means there are like 10 lines of code. You're writing continue on the 5th line. It will print first 4 lines. Then continue means go to the next iteration. So it will not print the next 5 lines. Okay. Any question? Now, if I can rewrite this code with our while loop or for loop, whatever you want, this is our try. I would like to make sure that it will keep running until the user enters a valid number. I can write it like a while true. So while true means like it is an infinite loop by definition. Right? So again, when I write the while true, that means I'm creating a block above another block. So our try block was the first block. So what I need to do, I can copy, I just like select everything and use the tab. That means everything is under the while loop right now. Now, here's our calculation. Whenever I'm done with the calculation, that means printing, I can write the break. But if you don't have the break, once it prints the result, it will ask you the same question again. Where's the input? Keep running again and again. Well, sometimes you may have some infinite loop. You can use the Control D or Control C to quit that operation. Okay. Any other question? Well, like nested if, you can write nested loops. What is the nested loop? Like loop within a loop. Typically, we use the nested loop in matrix representation or our image processing things. Whenever you're seeing an image, this one is like an image, right? Start from different pixels. Do you know the coordinate system? The Cartesian coordinate system, starting from 0, 0. So this is like a 0, 0. Not exactly. 0, 0 is like that corner. Start from there. So this point can be a different number. Maybe, I'm not sure. There's a resolution like 1000. Check the resolution things first so that it makes sense. You can see a 1920, 1080. That means there are like 1920 row, and each row there is a 1080 column. That means if you are starting with there 0, 0, the last one should be like 1920, 1088. In between, you can see any number. So how you can represent those numbers? Well, it's a 2-dimension, like, 2-dimension X and Y. You can write 2 loops, a nested loop, to write these 2-dimensional things. Let me write very simple 2-dimensional things. Like I would like to create a table with 3 rows and 3 columns, maybe 4 columns. 3 rows and 4 columns. It is 0, 0, right? 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3. Then 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, right? Those are the coordinates. Now, if I would like to access these value, I need to find the 1 and 2, right? X value 1 and Y value 2. I can write the same way here. The X value, that means the rows, right? The rows is like 3 and columns is like 4. Now I can iterate from here. So this is the first one, second, third, and fourth. So I can iterate by row. So Well, it shows the example. Row in the range of rows and column in the range of columns. But the column is under the rows. That means once we're done with the single column, then it goes to the next row. And the next row and the next row. That means this for loop should be executed the whole at a time, then it will increment the row. That means column start from 0 to 4, then it increments the row to 1. Then 0 to 4, then increments the rows to 2 and 3 is the last one. So let me print. So what I'd like to do here, instead of 0, 0, yeah, 0, 0 is fine. Instead of 0, 0, I can start with 1, okay? I'd like to increment by 1 so that you can count it. Start from 1, 1, then 1, 2. Let me print something here. Like after completing this for loop, I can write end of inner for loop. So 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. That means the row value is 1, column value changes. Then 1 inner loop done. Then it increments the row value to 2. Then 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4. Then next inner loop is done. Then the next one, starting from 3, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4. Then we're done with the last inner loop. So this is how the two-dimensional matrix, like a tabular form, can be represented in, like by using this nested for loop. If it is the 3-dimension X, Y, Z, probably need to write 3 for loops, 3 nested for loops. Row columns, maybe for the 3 dimensions, like different things, height, width, and what's the other dimension? What?
Depth.
Depth, yeah, height, width, and depth. Okay. But yeah, those are the advanced concepts. But you need to learn those things so that you can utilize those things in not next project, project 4 or project 5. But I'll be recapitulate those things again and again. Whenever we have some like file operation, we will write something in the file, read from the file, we can use this matrix representation. I'll ask you to read from a file. Maybe in the file you can see the tabular form. Or I can ask you to write those things in the file at the tabular form. Okay. Okay, now project 2. I hope you haven't read the project 2. Have you? Okay. If you haven't, this is the good place to read, right? Okay. Project 2. Okay. The learning outcomes, what you already have done here, apply the basic string manipulation technique you already have done. Use loops and condition to process and transfer the character data. Create custom encryption and decryption function using Caesar cipher logic. I'll tell you what is the Caesar cipher logic in later. Handle both use uppercase and lowercase later, preserving formatting and spacing. Those are the learning outcomes. But what you need to do, you need to use function here as well, probably. Yeah, function, but I haven't covered the function yet. Next week, I'll be discussing the function. But I want someone to read this lost language decoder. We're still in where? The Earth? No. For the project, we are in Nova Gaia, right? In a spaceship. So we need to decode our lost language. It's like a lexicon rebuilder 7x. Okay, we have like 5 more minutes. If anyone can help me to read it out. Good.
In completing this project, you will learn.
Yeah, I already discussed those things, so. let's
Okay,
start with
sweet,
the
sorry.
mission briefing.
Mission briefing. In the final days of Earth, as global communication systems failed, small resistance groups developed a cipher to encode their survival knowledge.
Do you know what is meant by cipher? Like a decoding things. Like, see, if I'm telling you something, it can be represented different way. Like different word, different character, so that I and you can only understand, but no one else. Okay, go ahead.
The records now known as the Old Earth cipher include techniques on farming, medicine, and civil order, all crucial to humanity's rebirth. Just before Earth was lost, these encrypted texts were uploaded to Nova Gaia's deep data vaults. Now, decades later, aboard the Nova Exodus colony ship, you must implement Lexicon Rebuilder 7X, a Caesar cipher-based translation tool. This software allows colonists to both encrypt and decrypt lost data, transmission by shifting characters according to a numerical key, reviving critical knowledge buried in code.
Yeah, so I would like to tell you about the Caesar cipher. Caesar cipher is like Julius Caesar. On that time, they have used this type of cipher. So what they have used like, well, they are writing something like attack today. Okay, so instead of attack today, what they're doing, they're just writing those things in a cipher way. Like they're using some code in different days. Code is like, today's code is like 3. That means they're shifting each character to 3 bit. That means A will be D. So the attack today will be like AD. What's the T?
W.
W. W. A is D. C is what? F. K is what? M.
Yep.
N.
And
Today T is W. O is what?
R.
R. D is G. A is D. Y is what?
B. B.
Yeah. So whenever we're done with the Z, it comes to the A. So this is the cipher text. It's hard for me to read, like it's an attack today, unless I have this number and this mechanism. If it's like a 4, it can be different number. Then whenever I have this code, I can decode it by, well, it's like a 3-bit forward shifter, and if you reverse it back, so it could be attacked today. Okay, this is how it works on that time. So we'll be doing the same thing in this project. But I think we're done for today. I'll be discussing the project, the problem spectrum from the next class. So we have a better understanding if you read it carefully before coming to the class. Okay. We may have some question if you read it. Any other questions? No? Okay. Have a great weekend.